Hello and welcome. I am Exit Light and this is my channel. Before we get started, if you could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up so that you remember, I would appreciate that. And if you don't like this video, by the time we get to the end, you can always take that thumbs up back. We don't bite that hard. And if you'd like to be subscribed and you aren't, please go ahead and do that when you are ready. Tonight, we are going to talk about a subject that I've been wanting to introduce to this channel for a very long time. It is a real place in Texas, and it is known as the Texas Killing Fields. So, let's get on into this, shall we? The Texas Killing Fields. You might never have heard of them if you haven't seen the movie starring Sam Worthington and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The film is loosely based on the murders while depicting a fictional portrayal of the struggle that the local police faced while attempting to solve these murders. The film itself focuses on the lead detectives, Captain Brian Gocius and Mike Land, who dedicated their careers to trying to solve these Texas killing field murders. The filmmakers hired officers Gocius and Land as consultants while making the movie. The screenwriter and federal agent Donald Ferrarone said that he drew information from an interview with a kidnapping victim and the family of one of the murder victims. Tim Miller, who is the father of a victim, Laura Miller, said that he saw the film for what the filmmakers intended. They wanted to raise awareness about the crimes and to generate new tips. In an interview with CBS News, actor Sam Worthington said that people, you never know, might just go and see the movie and go, "Oh, I remember when someone went down into the fields, and I remember a certain car and a certain person seemed a little bit dodgy," and maybe a family can then know what happened to their daughter. So what is going on? What has happened to the daughters? Over the past 48 years, beginning in 1971, the Texas Killing Fields, which is an area bordering the Calder oil field, which is a 25-acre patch of land situated a mile from Interstate Highway 45, has been a mysterious and terrifying place whose history will always be of where young women and children have been found murdered. It is said that once you ask, "What are the Texas Killing Fields?" you will immediately wish that you didn't know the answer. Since 1971, 30 bodies of murder victims have been found within the Killing Field area. These were mainly the bodies of girls, the youngest being 4 girls who were 12 years old. They were Allison Craven, who was from Houston, Texas. She disappeared on November 9th, 1971. She was found February 25th, 1972. Her mother had reported her missing after finding that Allison had disappeared from their apartment near I-45. After finding partial remains early on, the police recovered the rest of her body in a pearland field 3 months later, which was 10 miles away from her home. Many of the known victims were taken from a local gas station. Interestingly enough, I have been to that gas station, stayed at a hotel right next to it, had my children with me. I didn't know where we were. I didn't know that so close to us was the killing fields. And I can't help but think about how easily it could be to send a child mere yards away to a gas station thinking that they would be safe, especially in 1971, when there would have been a lot less traffic, a lot less buildings, a lot less people. You might have thought that it was perfectly safe to let your child run that quick errand. The next victim, who's 12, was Suzanne Bowers, She was from Galveston, Texas. She disappeared May 21st, 1977. She was found March 25th, 1979, and she was last seen walking between the 4000 block of Avenue S to the 3100 block of Avenue P at 10:45 a.m. Her skeletal remains were found 2 years later in the Alta Loma, Texas area. The next 12-year-old victim, Brooks Bracewell. She was from Dickinson, Texas. She disappeared September 6, 1974. Her body was found April 3rd, 1981. She was last seen with Georgia Gear, who was also a victim, at the U-Totem convenience store off of I-45. Her remains were identified along with Georgia's in Alvin, Texas, in a ditch. Then there's Laura Smither. She was 12. She was from Friendswood, Texas. She disappeared on April 3rd, 1997. She was found April 20th, 1997, after she had told her mother that she was going to go on a 20-minute jog. Laura was last seen running down the street that her home was on. 17 days later, her body was found in a retention pond in Pasadena, Texas. The bodies of these children and women range in age from 12 to the oldest victim, who was 57 years old. Most of the victims were young teens, early 20s. The 57-year-old victim was Tot Harriman. She was from League City, Texas. She disappeared on July 12, 2001. After mapping a route between League City and Corpus Christi, Texas, on a mission in search for a new home. Tot was last seen driving her 1995 Lincoln Continental along Highway 35. Neither she nor her car have ever been found. The last known murder victim is said to have been in 2016. Furthermore, there have been many, many more young girls and women who have disappeared in this area. Their bodies, if the girls are deceased, are still missing, still out there somewhere. The rugged land that lies between deserted oil fields and the interstate has been described as the ideal dumping ground for a serial killer. There is little chance that a victim could escape their attacker or that their screams could be heard. It's a kind of environment that's sultry and sinister, easy to get to. You jump off I-45, you drive down one of the dirt-rutted roads, you dump a body, and you're gone for good. Reporter Skip Halsworth told CBS in an interview. In a featured story by CBS News, Federal Agent Don Ferrarone noted this bridge up ahead had a sign on it that when you came out in this direction, it said, "You are now entering the cruel world." As he and the reporter drove along Interstate 45, he commented that, and it's just, it's just a perfect place for killing somebody and getting away with it. If you just imagine having one of these little girls out here, one of these young girls out here, there's no chance for them to be rescued or to be helped. And they're all on their own. After visiting some of the sites of the recovered bodies in League City, Ami Khan Mann, who was the director of the film, The Texas Killing Fields, commented that you could actually see the refineries that are in the south end of League City. You could see I-45, but if you yelled, no one would hear you. And if you ran, there wouldn't necessarily be anywhere to go. And this property is surrounded by very thick hedges with very spiny thorns. It is believed that many of the murders are the work of serial killers. Now, Keep that in mind. I did not say of a serial killer. I said serial killers, more than one, using this ground, this land, as their dumping ground, as where they've murdered children and young women and left them there like trash. More than one. Is it possible that they know each other, cover for each other, protect each other? Is it possible that that's why these murders have spanned for 48 years? It should be noted that many of these victims look very similar to each other, some even wearing the exact same hairstyle. And despite the exhaustive efforts by the League City Police Department, along with the assistance from the FBI, very, very few of these murders have ever been solved. My husband worked in League City for a year, very close to where these murders took place. I can't help but thinking of what the feeling in that land must be. That if land or buildings, rocks, stones retain energy and memory of events that have happened, what must that land be like to be out there alone? It has to be haunting. It has to be terrifying. Some people have come forward and claimed to be one of the serial killers, but there was no evidence linking them to the murders. Could they have been the serial killers? Or could they have been that special type of person who just wants to be a serial killer, wants that notoriety, wants to be famous for such a thing? There is a pile of unsolved cases that just grew through the 80s and 90s. Some bodies have never been found. Some women simply went missing. Their cars were abandoned nearby, never to be seen again. Had they picked up a hitchhiker? Was it a friendly face? Could it have been a female? We may never know. The murders and mysterious disappearances continued through 2016, when suddenly an eerie quiet descended on this land. One suspect was convicted murderer Edward Harold Bell, who was 72 years old in November 2011. Bell claimed in a 1998 letter to police that he had murdered 11 girls in Galveston County. Although he was a long-time suspect, prosecutors say that they did not have enough evidence to prosecute him. William Lewis Reese, who was a 58-year-old Texas man, has also been named as a suspect in 4 of the murders and charged with 3 of them. He was charged in the murder of Tiffany Johnston, who was 19, of Jessica Kane, who was 17, and of Laura Smither, who was 12. He is suspected but not charged in the death of Kelly Cox, who was 20 years old. He was serving a 60-year sentence for kidnapping when he led police to the remains of Kane and Cox in 2015. Now think about that. He hasn't been charged in the murder of Kelly Cox, but he led the police to her body. In 2012, a breakthrough occurred. The then 45-year-old Kevin Edison Smith was given life without parole for the 1986 murder of 13-year-old Crystal Jean Baker. Smith was linked to the crime after he was arrested in Louisiana for an unrelated incident in 2010. A DNA test performed on Smith matched samples taken from Crystal's underwear and her dress. To this day, Smith is the only conviction tied to the Killingfield murders, though detectives hope that he may provide them with some more key information in some of the other cases. In the movie, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character prays over the bodies, and that's something that Goetjes did in real life. When he was asked, "Are you praying for their souls?" he responded, "Oh, sure. For me, it's that little bit of comfort to step into it and give people some answers." So, if you live in that area of Texas and you did not know this story, is it possible that you've seen something or heard something that could help the police? If you live anywhere and have heard something regarding these murders, at least 30, suspected many, many more. 30 bodies found in a 25-acre plot of land. Just some dumped, some mutilated, some buried. Some had parts of their bodies carried away by animals. These were somebody's mothers, daughters, sisters, cousins, aunts, and they could use your help in any clue that you have, no matter how small, that could help them with this case, with these cases. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you are not already and you would like to be, please go ahead and subscribe. If you did click the thumbs up button and you wish to unclick that button, I understand. If you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, please go ahead and click that bell. Thank you, and good night.